we must not compromise, okay, in what we want in a relationship. There's a difference between being picky and not compromising. So what am I supposed to say? Yes, I am so lucky. He doesn't cheat on me. Yay! And I communicate to you how I feel about you. Okay, I don't have emotional constipation. That's the best way to move. We need to be able to say something and talk. But ultimately, we need to work more on our listening skills.
Welcome to the MedKit Separate podcast, a podcast about health and living a more mindful life. Today, I'm very pleased and very honored to have for a third time with us, Dr. Andreas Anastasiou. Thank you very much for coming.
Great to be here.
I'm going to say a few words about Dr. Andreas. He has a PhD in counseling psychology from the University of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. He has worked as a psychologist in several settings in the US, including Veterans Affairs Hospital, counseling centers, and state agencies. As associate professor at the Mary Baldwin University in Virginia, USA, he served as the chair of the psychology department for 4 years. He repatriated to Cyprus 6 years ago, and since then has been associate professor of psychology at the University of Nicosia, where he has also served as chair of the social sciences department. He has served as board member of the Cyprus Psychological Association. In addition, Andreas maintains a private practice in counseling psychology, and his research focuses mainly on gender differences in the communication of empathy, conflict resolution, and multicultural issues. Today, we're going to talk about relationships, parenting, and yeah, I think we'll see where it takes us.
All right, you never know.
So let's begin with the first question. How do we prepare ourselves to be a good partner?
Good partner. That's a very, very good question. And I think the idea behind choosing our partner is, first of all, I would say to explore what do I want from a relationship before making a commitment to this is the person I want to be with. So to be a good partner, first of all, we need to, I would say, define what it means for me to be a good partner. Acknowledge the fact that I have things that I need to work on to be a good partner. Because I think a mistake that a lot of people make in relationships, they think that only the other person has work to do for the relationship to improve. Okay, which is actually quite narcissistic. Why is it that it's always the other person that has to do work? Okay, ultimately, the question is, what work do I need to do to have a good relationship? Okay, in relation to my partner. The other thing that I think is terribly important, and we see this in relationships that are actually happy and span over a long period of time, is that we must not compromise, okay, in what we want in a relationship. There's a difference between being picky and not compromising, okay? And when I say not compromise, I'm talking about not compromising on major things, okay? So everybody has to think after exploration. It has to be the result of exploration. What are things that I absolutely need to have in this relationship? And what are things that I absolutely do not want in this relationship? And those are the things that are core to you. So if you compromise on those, you will end up being lonely, depressed, and trapped in the relationship. So yeah, we need to delve into this exploration. What are things that I really want? What are things that I don't want? Okay. And this is, I dare say, something that is a very individual journey. What we must not do is allow other people, and it could be well-meaning people. Okay. It could be our parents. It could be our friends. It could be the culture, people who mean well, to make us have self-doubt about what we want in a relationship. And in my practice, I over the years, I found that women are much more likely to have self-doubt. Okay, and I think this is a result of sexism that exists in society.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's like, but you know what? Why do you not like this person? I mean, he's a good person, and another thing that you hear a lot in these parts of the world is he doesn't cheat on you. He's loyal. He's kind. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't drink. So he's a good person. So why? So what am I supposed to say? Yes, I am so lucky. He doesn't cheat on me. Yay! So in that sense, I find that a lot of women become very low maintenance. Okay, it's like, what if I want someone who, is not just a good person, of course, on a very minimal level, but someone I communicate well with, someone who's a good listener, someone who's empathic to me, someone who admires me, and someone I admire. Okay, someone who is as ambitious as I am, someone who is not going to be threatened by me doing better or making more money than him. Okay.
And before going to a relationship, we have to define these. We have to explore and define them for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. We need to. It's a good thing to learn by getting into relationships. Sometimes they don't work, but that is okay. Okay, I might sound very, very graphic right now, but I will tell you exactly what comes to my mind. One of my dear professors in the United States, he passed away actually a couple of years ago. He would, in one of his classes, I remember he said, he was the kind of guy who would open his mouth, say some profound things, and it's like, okay, this is stored here forever. So one day he said to us, guys, all the shit from relationships that don't work become the fertilizer for the one that does. Okay, it's the idea that I'm learning from past relationships, and how important it is to always make new mistakes. Okay, so part of exploration is I get into relationships, and if that doesn't work, great. It's not necessarily bad. I'm learning something from that. I know that I don't want this thing in a relationship. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I know I want that in a relationship. And that is so important to me that I'm not compromising, because I didn't have it in that relationship. So I want to have it in my next one.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful advice. And
sorry, I need to also give you another parenthesis. We're going to compromise on minor things. We're not going to compromise on core things. We might compromise on, okay, what do you want to eat? I want beans and you want omelet. Great. Okay, all right, let's make an omelet. Or where shall we go on vacation? Okay, you want to go to the beach? I want to go to the mountains. Okay, all right, I'll compromise. Okay, as long as both people compromise on these peripheral things. Okay.
What are some major things that you find that we shouldn't compromise on?
I would say kindness. We want people who are kind to not just us, but also to other people. Everybody has his own list of things. Okay. I think the number one thing that would make a relationship work is empathy. Okay, the idea that I'm talking to someone and I feel that this person really gets me and understands me. Whenever we have that kind of interaction, we relax. We don't fight to make ourselves heard. It's not something we should. I think we should compromise on. Yeah. Because without empathy, we might be lonely in the relationship. So that's something that I think people need to work on. And again, the question is, what kind of work do I need to do to be more empathic? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've got a misconception here. If you have to do hard work, your relationship sucks. Do you agree?
Oh, not necessarily. No, relationships can be hard work. Okay, as long as I would say both people are willing to do their hard work for the relationship to work. Okay. The other thing that we have to be careful of is not to assume that if I do all the hard work that I need to do, the relationship will work. Not necessarily. Sometimes I might do, very, very hard work because I really want this relationship to work, but I might be beating on a dead horse. Okay. And sometimes exiting a relationship is not necessarily a sign of failure. It could be a sign of success. This is not working out for me. I'm miserable. I am unhappy. And by exiting a bad relationship, I'm giving myself the chance to have a meaningful relationship with someone else.
Would it be wise if we give some signs or pointers that would indicate for a relationship is not working?
Well, we need to feel free to express how we feel to the other person. Of course, we need to I'm very big on telling the other person what effect he or she has on you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, many times the other person is not, doesn't have, natural qualities of understanding what's in our brain. Okay, yeah. So it's okay to tell someone how we needs that we have in the relationship. We have to do that. That's part of investing in the relationship. If we do that, maybe work might not be that hard. The other key is for the other person to be receptive to what we say. Okay, that's where good communication comes in.
What about, let's move to battered woman syndrome. What is this? And
how much time do we have? But a battered woman syndrome, we have, it's, by the way, very, 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 very common to various degrees. And with the battered woman syndrome, we have a scenario where we have an abuser and a victim. The abuser is a man, the victim is a woman. Okay, although I also need to say that it's possible to have men that are victims. Many times men will not go and report that I am an abused man because there is much more stigma associated with that. Okay, but that can happen as well. But going back to the battered woman syndrome, we have a scenario where we have an abuser and a victim. The abuser is the man, the victim is a woman. And it's possible that might start with a honeymoon period. Initially, everything is going well, things are great. Or it might start with red flags all over the place. But at some point, it's going to start by him becoming a bit more possessive. He's going to isolate her from her family, from her friends, essentially from anyone who is part of her support system. And anyone from whom she derives joy. Because I want to be the exclusive source of joy for you. And even if your team wins, okay, I'm actually upset because I see that you're excited with something other than me. Okay. So he's going to isolate her from her friends, from her family. The other thing that he does, he becomes extremely critical. This is not good. The other thing is not good. You're never good enough. Your looks are not good. And essentially what I'm communicating to the woman is that, you're not going to do any better than me. I'm doing you a favor that I'm with you. You think you're going to find anyone better than me? And so he becomes extremely critical. And what eventually happens, she loses her identity in the relationship. And the goal of her life becomes how not to anger him. Not how to make him happy, but she knows what to do and not to avoid his wrath, to avoid his anger. Okay? So she knows much more about how he's feeling as opposed to how she's feeling. We can have physical abuse. We can have emotional abuse, sexual abuse. People around her will come and tell her, can't you see what he's doing to you? Typically, the response is, oh, you don't know him. And you know what? He was also abused as a child. Okay, so essentially what she does, she justifies violence against her. At some point, she can't take it anymore and she will exit the relationship. As soon as she leaves, oh, by the way, the bond between them is very, very strong. Do not underestimate that bond. Okay. That is why when people come and tell her, why don't you leave? If I were you, I would have left just like that. I would never have withstood that. I would never have tolerated anything like that. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, the bond is very, very strong. Okay, and the way that he operates, there are also these occasional random acts of kindness. Sometimes they will have a great time together. He will be Mr. Perfect with her. Okay, occasionally that's going to happen, and she latches on to those moments. But at some point, she will exit the relationship, and because she can't take it anymore. And then he's going to come and tell her, "I was such a jerk. Come back, and I will change. I promise." And because she really misses him, she will go back, and the second cycle of violence is going to start. And this can happen many, 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 many times. Okay, as soon as the second cycle of violence starts, that's our assessment is battered woman's syndrome. Okay,
that's a diagnostic criteria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and this can, a lot of these women go in and out of that relationship. At some point, when she decides that, okay, this is it, I'm exiting, I'm not going back. When he realizes that she's not coming back, she's actually in danger. Because this is when you hear that, this man went with a gun and shot his ex. Usually that's the worst thing that can happen, but it happens. Okay, he's going to go stalk her. That's when she gets a restraining order from the police. Because these men tend to be extremely possessive. And the idea that she's happy without me, or that she's gonna, God forbid, she finds someone else, I cannot handle. So I want to go and, be very aggressive with her. Sometimes, we hear those things on TV all the time.
If you're in this scenario that you just described, and you're the woman,
mm-hmm.
What do? And you realize what you just said.
Ideally, it's very important to go and explore options, because another thing that he's going to infuse into her brain is that you cannot make it without me. And also, if you want to evolve, could be you might want to evolve academically. You might want to, I want to open a shop. I want to become more independent. Okay, you're going to do that. At your age, you want to go back to university and, oh God, listen, I don't think you can make it, as opposed to, oh, great, I think it's a good thing for you. Yeah, go, and I'm right next to you. What do you need from me? How can I help you? I'm very happy that you want to go and evolve. I'm very happy that you want to go to a university. Okay, I'm very excited. Okay, and I admire you. As opposed to, oh, come on, you. What a joke. Okay.
Where do you think this behavior from the, not from the victim, but from the perpetrator, what do you think that comes from? Does that come from a young age, childhood?
Usually, I would say the profile is someone who is authoritarian, spoiled at the same time, narcissistic, and someone has a lot of anger inside him. Okay. And this is the kind of person who, the other thing is that this person cannot tolerate any kind of criticism. Okay. Or any opinion that his wife or his partner, his woman might have. Okay, you will agree with me always, and don't you dare disagree with me in front of other people. I will obliterate you. Okay, the only perspective that you need to have is mine. Okay, when we go out, I want you to be a pot. Like a pot that has a plant in it. That's how I want you to be. Oh, and by the way, this is an actual example. I'm not making this up.
Oof.
Okay.
I'm sure you see a lot of extreme.
Unfortunately, it is extreme, but it's not all that abnormal. I dare say that you interact with women who are in that kind of relationship over time, but you might not know. Sometimes they come out later.
It's shocking.
Oh, another parenthesis that I need to make is that many times these women might go and express how they feel, okay, with parents, okay, and it's not uncommon. It is not uncommon for parents to prevent the woman from exiting their relationship, okay, especially in this culture. Why you want to leave? Why? It's for their own reason, because they're afraid, they feel uncomfortable with the fact that their daughter is going to leave her marriage, or what is she going to do, and what will people say? That's another very, very big issue. Okay, so and they might themselves go and infuse even more self-doubt in her.
On a general note, is it good to talk about our relationship with other people, with friends, family?
Yes, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We always need a good listener in our life. Who is the person that I can freely talk to without being judged? Who is the person in my life that I feel that this person really gets me and understands me? Okay, and it's okay to have someone outside the relationship.
To be that listener.
Of course.
It doesn't have to always be your partner.
No. Ideally, of course, we want to have that kind of relationship with our partner. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have that kind of close relationship also with our good friend.
Yeah.
Okay. To tell him about, or her, challenges that we might have in our relationship. Or it could be something else too. We don't want our partner to be the sole source of support that we have, because that could be very tiring for the partner. Okay, that's why it's good to have. Of course, there are no formulas.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's good to have other people in our life. Okay,
and we surround ourselves with people that are good listeners.
Yes,
that's what I'm getting from this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I see all the time is people in relationships, or when they meet others, always say, "Okay, what am I supposed to say? I don't know what to say. How can I make myself more interesting?" Or many times I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say. The world needs better listeners. Okay, not necessarily better. Of course, we need to be able to say some things and talk, but ultimately we need to work more on our listening skills. This is the thing that's going to make someone, I think, more attractive. And this is the thing that's going to make people bond much more.
And I agree. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's shift the focus now to parenting. So I'm going to say some stats here.
Sure.
These are from statista.com. The percentage of marriages ending in divorce from 2019 to 2022 in Europe are about 43%. And then with Luxembourg, number one place with 89%.
Divorce rate, 89%.
Yes, in Luxembourg.
Okay. Wow, didn't know that.
And then in the US, again, 45%, similar to Europe. Mm-hmm. In Cyprus, we had a 20% divorce rate, which has quadrupled in the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. I do want your opinion on this.
That's not a bad thing.
I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, children with divorced parents, so this is where I want to segue into parenting, are twice as likely to attempt suicide. Mm-hmm. Teenagers whose parents divorce are three times more likely to experience mental health issues. Okay. So how do you interpret these statistics?
Oh God, there's so many things that we can say. Well, first of all, I would say a very low divorce rate can be as problematic and as unhealthy as a very high divorce rate. When I was growing up in Cyprus, the idea of getting a divorce was unheard of. And I really thought that, I remember as a kid, and even when I was an adolescent, I even idealized Cyprus a little bit. We don't have any divorces. Okay, everything is great. But then the older I got and the more I The more I was able to reflect on this culture, I realized that, you know what, that's pretty bad. The question is, why is it that people don't get out of a relationship, don't divorce when they're being suppressed, when the relationship is terrible? Okay. And it's really very sad for people to go through a whole life in a bad relationship simply because, well, we just don't get divorced in this culture. We don't do this. What will people say? I have a sense of shame. I'm afraid of what my mother's going to say, what my father's going to say, how the village is going to see me. Okay. And I don't want to be known what's going to happen to the kids. Okay. Now, I dare say that, yeah, we might think that children of divorced parents might have more issues, but I think it's a very simplistic way to look at it. Okay, what did those kids experience before the divorce? That's another thing we need to put in the equation. The other variable that we need to include is, what do the children experience after the divorce? Okay, what I think is a much more critical thing to see and control for is the presence or absence of conflict. Okay, so I dare say that it might actually be better for children in terms of their adjustment for the two parents not to be together, but to grow up in a peaceful and loving environment, okay, as opposed to the parents staying together. There is conflict all the time. Okay, I think that's going to have a much more negative impact on the children. So I think maybe a better way to look at it is the presence or absence of conflict. Okay, regardless of whether the parents are together or not. Okay, I think if we add that variable in the equation, the picture is going to be much more clear. The danger with those statistics for someone who's considering divorcing might see those statistics and say, oh my God, I'm not going to do that to my kids. No, I cannot divorce. I need to stay in this relationship because my kids are going to be screwed up and I'm going to harm them. Well, not necessarily. It's not necessarily that clear.
It's not that black and white.
It's not that black and white. No.
Yeah.
Not that black and white.
I heard that criticism really harms relationships.
Criticism is the opposite of empathy.
Yeah. And it happens very often, like criticizing each other, and that kind of leads to a lot of conflict. What's your...
Well, it's not fun. and criticism is one of the leading causes why people get divorced. Okay. Criticism is the exact opposite of empathy. Now, do we all criticize? Absolutely. Of course. We all have a critical side that might come out on our partner. The question is not, do I criticize or not? Do we criticize or not? The question is more like, what is the context within which I might criticize? And if the context is one where the overwhelming majority of times we actually have a good time, we praise each other, we have fun together, we appreciate each other, we enjoy talking to each other, then occasionally, if I criticize, it's going to be annoying, but it's not going to be damaging. But if I criticize all the time, if that is my modus operandi, okay, that's extremely toxic for the relationship. Okay, and that does not work. So again, criticism is the opposite of empathy. Empathy is what keeps a relationship together. Okay.
So let's say you find yourself in a relationship where you're the one who's, let's say, accepting the criticism, or the one who's trying to do more, trying to save the relationship. Or this could even be something minor, something that you want to express to the other person that you dislike, etc., that annoys you. How do you do that in an empathetic and compassionate way? How do I convey feedback? How do we give feedback?
Well, you do it when you feel many times that the right is on your side. You need to find a way to protect the person you're with from the criticism that you're gonna give. As Gandhi said, you need to be the change that you want to see. You need to do it in a non-critical way. Okay, you might use an I statement, for example. Okay, I feel upset when this thing happens. Okay. The other thing is to find that window of opportunity when the other person is going to be more receptive to what you're going to say. Because once there's conflict, once we get into that conflictual time, okay, in other words, if we have an argument, that's the worst thing to do anything. Okay. The best work, not only in relationships, but in general, as people, the best work we do when things are going well. Okay, we don't wait, for things to get out of control, because this is when typically many people will go to a psychologist. Okay, and that's when we do damage control. We try to, fix things a little bit, and when the relationship reaches a point at which is better, okay, that's when you do the best work. Okay, because you're much more receptive as opposed to conflict all the time.
I remember in one of our previous podcasts where you said the work is going to be done when we're good, when we're emotionally stable. That's where most of the work is going to be done.
Sure, absolutely.
When do we know that we need help? In a relationship, when do we know that we need a psychologist, etc.?
First of all, let me start by saying that my philosophy is that people who go to a psychologist are typically the healthiest. In the sense that there are people who are not afraid to look at themselves and say, you know what, I need to do this work. I need to work on this. I'm not in denial anymore. Okay. I think that when you're realizing that I'm not enjoying things in my life, I don't enjoy my team scores a goal and I'm not, it's like, okay, good, yay. Okay, when we don't enjoy things anymore, and we need to pay attention to that. Or when I'm sad all the time, when I feel like I'm not motivated to do ABC. Okay, when we are constantly anxious about things in our life. Okay, and when we feel like we are losing ourselves, when we feel like essentially I'm not feeling happy. Okay, that's when we might need to go to a psychologist.
And there's no shame in doing that.
No, absolutely not. No, there's no shame in going to a psychologist.
It's like you said, it's understanding that, okay, I need help, and that's yeah,
it's okay. There's no shame in going and seeing a doctor. There's no shame
in and I think narcissism plays a lot here as well. Like, why should I go? I'm fine. Like,
usually someone who is narcissistic, especially in relationships, might come for couples therapy. One thing that I hear all the time, which is I think very typical, is many times the woman might start saying that we need to work on this, we need to do that, I need to work on this, and he might say, well, I'm here to help her. I've heard that actually many times in all sorts of ways. And then immediately you're beginning to realize, okay, this is an issue. Why do you not have any work to do? Okay.
Let's move to parenting. What are some of the most common issues parents have to deal nowadays with their children? And
I think parenting today is very, very, very difficult on many levels. I think that stress has a significant impact on the parents. The other thing that I think is really terrible nowadays is actually screens, what kids watch online. Parents are not ready. They're not. They don't know how to handle that. Okay. Parents need to, first of all, de-stress. They need to see, okay, what's stressing me in my life? What can I change so that I'm going to be much more present with my kids? The other thing that parents need to do is take care of their own self and take care of their relationship. And especially when we have children, we have a much greater responsibility to take care of ourselves individually and also take care of our relationship. Children should be raised, not by the one parent or the other. Children should be raised by the parental relationship. So as parents, we have a kid, significant more stresses on the relationship. It is not uncommon for the parental relationship to deteriorate when children come. Okay, because, we are ignoring each other, all our attention is on the child, and of course it's also wonderful, but I'm finding myself just be completely consumed with the child. Okay, and also what expectations do we have about who does what when the children come? And these are good things to talk about before having children. Okay, very, very important to do that. This reminds me of somebody I knew many years ago who he and his wife were going to have a kid. So I remember sitting down talking about them having a kid. Now it must be very exciting. And I remember we're talking about changing diapers. So the guy smiles and says, I don't do shit. And I looked at his wife, who was pregnant, ready to have a kid, and she gave him a look, and it was like, really? Oh, I didn't know. It's like there was that kind of look. She was very surprised. Now that relationship did not last. Okay. So it's very important, if you're going to have children, to be very mindful of what that is. Have, I would say, the healthy anxiety of responsibility before, during the pregnancy and after. Take very good care of ourselves, and it's very important for the parents to be on the same page, okay, when it comes to raising their kids. Now, is it possible that sometimes one parent might be, the disciplinarian, the other one might be more of course. Okay. But even in those situations, it's very important for the two parents to communicate together and make adjustments in the way that they parent. Okay. But ultimately, I think very important for the parent to spend one-on-one time with each and every kid. Okay, that's why parenting is hard, meaningful, joyous, and depleting work. Okay, and also we need to look at how does my identity change when I become a parent. Okay, how does my work identity change? If I'm also, we have gender differences. Okay, women are more likely to have the responsibility for the raising of the children. Okay, and women are more likely to be judged if they don't do ABC. Women are more likely to have the second shift at home. So I'm at work, I'm earning money, and when I go home, my second shift starts. Okay, you're not gonna. Typically we hear, sexist comments that people make, both men and women. Okay, for example, we might say, "Oh, he's such a good guy. He helps at home. He knows how to do laundry. He knows how to change diapers. Yeah. Wow, he does shit. He's a good guy." Okay. But if we say, "Oh, you know what? He does his part," then we conceptualize it differently, especially nowadays when men and women have to go out and work. Okay. You never hear, "Oh, you know what? She's such a good mom. She helps at home. And she even knows how to do laundry. She's fantastic." Okay. At an age when both parents typically have to work, we need to use different terminology. And couples are affected by this type of terminology. Their relationship is affected, but they're not aware Okay, because language reflects how we think. Okay, and when you have both males and females, men and women, fathers and mothers, using the same kind of language, okay, it's very stressful, but people are not aware of that. Okay, the other thing that happens, especially for women that stay at home and work at home, okay, because that's hard work. A lot of women are looking forward to going back to work, okay, the business, what they were doing before having children, to rest from childhood, from raising children, okay?
It's a 24-hour job, that's why.
Of course. Oh, you will hear a lot of people tell you that, I don't have time to go to the toilet. I don't have time to take a shower. Okay, these are very, very common things, okay? And people should not be made to feel guilty for being upset, okay, for sometimes being mad at their kids or being mad at their life, because they might feel that I'm stuck. What am I doing here? This is not what I bargained for, okay? So it's much more complicated having children, okay? So we need to work on our relationship before having children. Again, that's another type of exploration that we need to delve into. Yeah. How are we going to raise our children? Okay, and in the case of bicultural couples, that could be even more challenging. Okay, how are we going to integrate the two cultures in the raising of our children? What kind of religion, if that is important to us, are we going to, raise our children in? Okay, but it's again, it's very important to be very empathic also to the other parent.
Mm-hmm. What about, I've heard this from multiple people, that conflict in front of children it's not a good thing.
We don't want to have nasty conflict. We don't want punches or we don't want cursing, really bad give and take. That we don't want. That's very toxic. Okay, but it is okay for the other question is, again, what is the context within which we're having some disagreement, some minor conflict? And if it's one where we typically show to the children that we are really good with each other, we hug each other, we kiss each other, we display affection in front of the children, we kiss in front of them, and we really enjoy to be with each other, okay? Then if we have some conflict, minor conflict, okay? It's okay. It's actually, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I dare say that it might even be a good thing, because children would see a very healthy, realistic relationship. The other thing that the parents need to demonstrate in front of the children if they fight is also, how do we make up? What skills of reconciliation do we have that we can show to our kids? Okay, for example, do I apologize? Do I acknowledge things that I need to work on? Okay, and I might even say to my kids, hey guys, you know what? Sorry about this. Sometimes adults fight. Okay, most of the times we're okay. We're not going anywhere. We're actually good with each other, and now we're okay.
Yeah.
It's also good to apologize to our kids, by the way, if we screw up.
I think kids understand much more than we believe. What do you do when dealing with difficult kids? When I say difficult kids, they don't listen. Sometimes you hear parents saying, I have a very difficult kid, whereas my other kids are not that difficult. Okay,
when my kids are not listening to me, do they not listen to me, or do they not obey me?
Okay, that's interesting.
Because there is a difference. Okay. The other question is, am I a good listener to them? The other issue is, sometimes our kids are not going to listen to us right now. We might tell them and not necessarily because we want them to obey us, but because we want them to listen to us. Okay, we tell them something, and the following day they do exactly the same thing. And it's bad for them, and we know.
Yeah.
Okay. The way that I think we parents need to think about it is that I'm saying something to my kids, but they're not going to get it now or tomorrow or the day after. Maybe they will. Great. But I need to think about it as an investment for the future.
Okay. This is interesting.
Eventually, things are going to sink in. But I should not expect my kids to think that to talk to me or as if they're 20 years old or 30 years old. Okay. They're kids. So we need to put that in context. But again, the other issue is, what is the quality of my relationship with my kids? How often do I spend time with them? And when is it the most effective time for me to share something with my kids? Okay. And do I know my kids? Do I really know them? If my kids feel that I really get them, understand them, okay, they're more likely to be receptive to what I say. Okay. It's also possible that they might not be, they have other influences, okay, that they might misunderstand me, they might not listen to me, okay. That is okay too. But I need to find that window of opportunity when I'm going to be fully present with my kids and they will be more receptive to what I have to say to them. Okay.
Yeah. I usually like to go into the details of things. So when you say spend time, I really like what you said, spend time with each individual kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an amazing motto to go by. How much time would that be? I know this is not shouldn't be a Bible, but yeah, per week.
I would say I wouldn't come up with a number. You know, have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or but it's the idea that I'm spending some time with my kid, and what I'm really communicating to my kid is that I'm here with you. I'm really enjoying spending time with you, and you, little guy, make my life better. I'm so happy that you are in my life. You enrich my life. It's been great. Sometimes you're a pain in the ass. Yes. And you piss me off. Okay. But ultimately, you never wonder about how I feel about you as my kid.
Yeah.
You never wonder. I always make you, and I communicate to you how I feel about you. Okay. I don't have emotional constipation. That's the best way to move.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much time do we have? It's 2:05.
Gotta go.
But
I can't be back.
This was amazing, I think, and very helpful and very needed. Do you have as a statement at the end, a message to give out to parents who are struggling or who are stressing?
I would say figure out what it means for you to be kind to yourself as a parent. Spend time with each other. Assess what you need from your relationship. And on a very, very basic level, exercise, sleep well, eat well, figure out who's the good listener in my life. Assess what things you need to work on to make your relationship better. And also embrace, I would say, the healthy anxiety of change if things need to change.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a wonderful recap. Mm-hmm. And one thing, lastly, we talked before the podcast about how much exercise you do, and and I was really shocked. But exercise every day.
It's fun. You know what? It's a very good addiction to have.
Yeah.
But you need to find the type of exercise that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay. And some people like to run, other people like to play football, other people like to swim. You need to find what you really enjoy, and start from the level that you're at and gradually improve.
Yeah.
Okay. But ultimately, you need to have fun.
I agree. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much. It was amazing.
Always fun.